Welcome to the Emporium Outdoors. My name is Michael, and in this video we're going to do some easy mode winter camping. If you watched my last video, you would know that Esme's having a few problems with her joints, so I wanted to do a really easy camp that she could just enjoy without too much exercise. She's still on kind of light duties. So what I brought with me is a ice fishing tent with a hot stove, and we're going to set that up real quick and show you exactly what that looks like. So I'm just going to turn the Jeep around and back up into this area where we've got a nice flat spot, and we'll be up and running before you know it. I've done most of my winter camping in much more severe weather than we have today. However, if you're new to hot tent camping, this is the perfect sort of conditions where you can go out and test your gear and enjoy the outdoors. It's always better to work up to the more intense colder temperatures because the problems get exponentially more complex as the temperature drops. And you really don't want to find out on a very intense cold trip that some of the gear that you have isn't really up to the job or you don't know how to use it correctly. On this trip, it's just a quick getaway for me and Esme to relax and not to have too many things that we have to set up. So as you can see, the weather is not typical for this time of year in Canada. There's very little snow in between the trees, but we're going to go ahead and set up the tent anyway. I'm sure we're just going to have a really good time enjoying the outdoors and spending some time with Esme. So I've owned the Cabelas ice fishing tent for some time now, and this is the wide bottom version, so it does give you a bit more room, especially for camping in it. It does have tie downs for strong wind on all four sides of the tent, and you'll see me use those later on because it does become quite windy. It is of course primarily an ice fishing shelter, but easily converts to a hot tent with the addition of a stove jack that can be made simply and cheaply. So the other big bonus with this tent is it's insulated, which means the fabric is a little bit heavier, which is nice for keeping some of the heat. But I also find that it doesn't flap around quite as much as some of the thinner materials. Additionally, the two skylights and the three windows, one being used for the stove jack, really do let in a lot of light, and it really brightens the place up during the daytime. And when the windows are covered by the internal flaps, it does darken the tent up and give you that really cozy feeling inside. But I must say, one of the things I like about this tent the most is the simple setup and tear down. You can really do this within a couple of minutes, and when it's cold and snowing, that's really appreciated. Overall, it's an affordable way to winter hot tent in a spacious and comfortable environment. And you can also use it as a nice fishing shelter. Okay, so we're inside the tent. This one does have nice roof vents. It's plastic coating, which is great. It has these 4 windows and a second door. And 2 pockets. What I've got here is a custom stove jack that I built. Just velcros in place of one of the windows. But it's actually very light in here when the windows are open. And there's quite a lot of space as well. So my bunk will go across here, stove in the corner, and Esme will probably be up here. So lots of room. So this will be our home for the night. So pretty much all set up. I have 2 of these cots, and I brought the one that's closest to the ground so that Esme, if she wants to jump on the bed, which she likes to do, she doesn't have to jump up too far with her bad legs. Then her little cot will go in here, and I think it'll be very comfy. It's quite a bit of room in here. So I'm 5'9". As you can hopefully see, there's a good foot above my head and at least a foot on the other side. So it's pretty close to 7 feet across. So it's actually one of the simplest shelters that you can buy. I think on sale these go for roughly around 400 Canadian dollars. So it's a cheap way to get into winter camping. And I used to carry this on the back of my Can-Am all the time on my Defender. So it's just a really quick and easy shelter. It's insulated. You can camp in here quite comfortably. If you had one of those bunk bed type beds, you could easily get 2 people in here. And a couple of chairs, no problem at all. And it does an excellent job of ticking all the boxes for winter camping. The only thing where it would really not work out is if you're going to be hauling stuff in on a sled or something similar, because it is quite a bulky item. But apart from that, it works for obviously this type of camping, and if you're going in on a UTV or you have a large sled and you're pulling it with a snow machine, something like that would be perfect. So I think we're all set. Just got to go grab some wood, and then I think we can start to relax. So the stove I'm using is the Nyko Tracker. This is sold through Snow Tracker, where I bought another tent, so it's slightly modified. It has a 4-inch stovepipe, but it also has this elbow halfway through the stovepipe that you can angle the stove out of the window. The elbows can be purchased for most sizes of stovepipe, but this will allow you to use this type of tent in the future. So I just wanted to mention a quick thing on safety. You'll see that when I assembled the chimney that I screw every joint together. I have this small screwdriver I keep in there with a couple of magnets on it. So it keeps all the screws together because you don't want to drop these in the snow. I just dropped one and managed to use the magnet to find it again. But on 2 separate occasions, I didn't screw together the joints on the stovepipe, and they came apart during the middle of the night. So luckily I woke up, but after the second time, the first time was didn't quite have it set up correctly. The second time I definitely did, and it still came apart. So if you have any movement in the tent or the stovepipe's going to move, the risk of that coming detached, it's kind of not good. Hopefully you'll wake up, hopefully. So just for the sake of 5 little screws, if you take one safety tip away from any of my videos, I would say that's one of them. So I think we are all set up. Actually, I did put down my fireproof blanket underneath because we're a bit short on snow on this spot, which is kind of nice, but at the same time I don't want to set fire to anything. So again, just thinking ahead. it the right height for you now? So we're actually all set. Just got to put my sleeping bag in, which I'll do a little bit later. I'm going to load up the stove ready for later on. I don't think I'm going to light the stove just yet. Temperature's actually he's shedding like crazy. Oh my god. Esme, 17 fair. That's insane. I already pulled out a bunch of it this morning. Wow. Ugh, I think we're going to be covered in fur. You think it's summertime? Oh, I should have brought you a brush. Okay, now we're all set up. I've decided to change into some warmer clothing. And even though it's probably, I want to say +5, +3, tonight's going to go down to just below freezing. But the best way to stay warm is to not get cold in the first place. So the other thing I've done, which I don't normally do with this tent, is I've actually staked down all 4 corners, and I've also got this line going to this tree here, because normally when you set this in the snow you can bury the ends of it, the little skirts, and it's solid, nothing will blow it away. But because here we don't have any snow down, it's a little bit unstable, so I'd rather not wake up to the tent getting ripped away from me. So I think that's a wise decision. I think what we'll do now is take the camera, switch the lens out, and see if we can get some wildlife shots. Go for a little bit of a walk. You come for a walk, Esme? Despite the wind, it was nice and comfortable inside the tent, and I brought along some of my deer harvest from November, and this is a nice roast joint that I smoked for our trip, and it was delicious. As a perfect example of foreshadowing, you can see the stovepipe jumped out of the stove. Maybe it wasn't fully in there, or maybe it was. I think maybe I'll try and find a way to secure that properly to the stove. But the reason this happened was we're in extremely windy conditions, but because this tent is really designed to be covered in snow along the skirts to give it full rigidity, it's moving around more than it really should.
It's alright, Esme.
Well, good morning everyone. We had a very good night's sleep. Actually, we lit the stove and it ran for one load and we just completely fell asleep. So we didn't put any further wood into the stove. But it was warm enough. It's below freezing this morning. But it's comfortable inside here. It's not too bad at all. So the time is around 8 o'clock. So we actually slept in. Normally I wake up at 6. So, shows you how comfortable it was. Esme's right here. She stayed on her bed all night. That was good. I think she was nice and warm. But I think it's time that she gets fed. She's still losing fur. So, yeah, let's feed Esme. And then we'll start thinking about moving some things back into the Jeep, getting packed up. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little overnight camp. I certainly know Esme and I did. It wasn't the most adventurous trip we've taken, but the pleasure of being in the outdoors and having the alone time to think and relax is priceless. We're hoping to get out and do some more ATV backcountry trips in the coming weeks, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those up and coming videos. So until next time, take care. And as always, thank you very much for watching. If you like my videos, leave me a comment, maybe a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.